as a CEO, a leader, an entrepreneur, you are not going to be great at everything. Sorry, you got to check your ego. Like I knew what I was really good at, but I knew what I really wasn't good at. And so I really, when I coach and work with some executives and founders and franchisors I work with, I really try to help them kind of establish, what are you passionate about and what are you great at? And then let's fill in the gaps of what you really need to really build this company.
All right, welcome everybody back to another episode of Big Talk about that small business. And my co-host Marcus Zweig is slacking the day, and so he won't be here. He is moving his residential house yet one more time. Literally, I've never in my entire life met anybody that moves more than Marcus Sweet C. Zweig. I think this is the second time he's moved in about 12 months, and he acts like that's no big deal. But he's in the middle of boxing everything up and getting going. So I have once again carried the weight for the show and keeping us going. But have no fear, folks, because I have a fantastic guest with me today. His name's Matt Friedman. And for anybody that is starting a business or is in the middle of a business and you have taken the bait of that you have to raise a unsurmountable amount of capital to get going, or that you've got to have a bunch of investors, that you've got to have all these things happening to get going. You are about to have that completely countered with Mr. Friedman's story. It was a fantastic one, and I'm really excited to have him on the show. Matt, welcome. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Eric. And please don't call me Mr. Friedman. I mean, that's an insult. Maybe Matt the wing guy. I don't know. That's fine.
Hey, Matt, listen, man, just because you started your business out of a frat house doesn't mean you don't grow up and become a respected professional sir, you know?
Well, I appreciate that. I think I have a wonderful story and hopefully a lot of great nuggets of information for the listeners. I'd love to give you a little background on
Please
my
do.
story, if that's okay, Eric.
Please do. Please do. Looking
Yeah.
forward to it. Go for it.
So I went to the University of Florida in Gainesville, Florida, back in 1990. And I
Mhm.
was a very typical college student, right? Lived in the dorm, joined a fraternity, then moved to an apartment. And so I understood the college consumer better than anyone. And back in the day, you could get Domino's pizza delivered, you could get maybe a local Chinese joint delivered, but I
Mhm.
always felt that there was a an opportunity to deliver additional items. I
Mm.
grew up as a massive wing fan, I still am today. And so I came up with this incredibly simple business plan going into my junior year of college, which was 1992. And the premise of the business was to be a delivery themed wing restaurant
Mm.
that would be open late and service this lazy customer base, typically without a means of transportation. And the business model was really built on a Domino's pizza foundation, except we were doing authentic buffalo wings.
Mm.
So everyone, or there's a lot of people that come up with phenomenal business ideas, but how do you take that idea and actually get it to a beta test or to really test whether this thing has legs? And so one of the most resourceful things I did as a young entrepreneur is I lived in a fraternity house. That fraternity house had a full commercial kitchen. It housed 50 brothers. There were 150 fraternity brothers in the fraternity that were served breakfast, lunch, and dinner 5 days a week.
Mhm.
And so I made my best sales pitch to my fraternity president and said, "Man, I've created this business plan and I need a place to test this thing out." And I said, we've got this kitchen, it's got the walk-in cooler and the freezers and the
Great.
fryers and the grills and everything. And so I love to tell the story of that Wing Zone started with a $500 investment back in 1992. and that is a true story. People always ask me, what'd you do with $500? Well, number one is we had a telephone line installed in our fraternity house kitchen.
Hmm.
I like to say that we were the world's first ghost kitchen, meaning people didn't know where we were. They just knew they could pick up the phone and call us, and we'd, deliver authentic buffalo wings to their dorm or frat or sorority or apartment. Then we had some simple menus and flyers printed, and for the remainder of the money, we went to Sam's Club and bought some of our ingredients, the wings, the packaging, the sauces, the French fries. And so, with a very simple business idea, the premise of Wing Zone started in 1992 in our frat house kitchen.
That's crazy, man. So how did you deliver it? Talk us a little about the delivery because that was ahead of
Yeah,
its time.
really interesting question. Uh, we used our fraternity brothers, right? Pledges, brothers. We used to pay them $1.50 an hour and $1.50 per delivery. Plus, they'd keep some of their tips. So we had a built-in labor force from that perspective. I was the one in the kitchen. I had a business partner, my fraternity brother. Interesting note, Adam Scott and I were business partners for 27 years as we went through the voyage of Wing Zone from the frat house to our first location to 7 company-owned stores to franchising this model with 140 plus locations. So for the audience, this was not a simple road, right? There were bumps and bruises and some of those things that I hope to share with everyone today. But 27 years from the first ideation to the exit in 2021.
So he was a fraternity member with you when y'all first started?
Yes, Adam and I are fraternity brothers. Adam was a year younger than me. Funny story I like to tell is I went to several of my fraternity brothers with this idea of starting this wing delivery brand or concept. And I got shot down by like the first 5 or 6. And I finally went to Adam. I'm like, this guy seems like a smart dude. And, I went to him. He's like, man, I'm delivering pizza for a local pizza joint. I can help you with kind of some logistics and how it works. And I was like, I always laugh because I'm like, Adam, how much money do you have to invest in this business? He goes, I don't have any money. I said, good. I don't have any either.
That makes you equal partners right out of the gate,
That's
man.
right.
So did when you just a real quick question on that, whenever you would sell to your customers, would they pay for the delivery fee on top of their order, or was that kinda baked in?
Remember, this is early 90s. The whole idea of charging for delivery or a delivery charge really wasn't there. Everything was
Yeah.
free delivery. So we baked it into the product. I always like to share with people like we used to sell 10 wings for $3.99.
Come
And
on.
after midnight, we used to run 20-cent wing night. So every night of the week after midnight to get that bar crowd. So think about it that you get 20 wings for $4.
Oh,
I have some
man.
old receipts from back in the day. It's so funny. It's like you manually write their phone number, their address. There was no GPS. Use a calculator to add it up, and a lot of the orders were like $6, 5.50. The
Yeah.
orders were not like they are today.
Man, I mean, I know this isn't the topic of our conversation, but I do think it's something to be said about it, especially in today's time with tech and AI. Man, I mean, writing down orders, like you had a relationship with your customer, first of all, that was a lot more authentic. Second of all, you kind of understood what was going on in your business because you would hear it, write it down, like the physical writing it down versus all this automated stuff that might happen online. Like you knew really kind of at the end of the day, did you actually do pretty well or not? And then you could hear direct responses, I mean, and not to mention there's just something a little bit more gratifying. It's like mowing a yard, right? You can see work getting done, especially for the young folks out there that might be in their first business. Like, I mean, don't feel like you have to automate everything under the sun. Like you have a innate desire to work with your hands and to
process things hand to mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like I think, and there was something rewarding about that, like what you were just talking about, looking back at those old receipts. Like you can recall writing those things down.
Yeah, it's such a great point. I love the voyage we were on because we started in kind of the Stone Age and eventually evolved to
Yeah,
all of the technology now. But you're right, taking that order with the customer over the phone, you knew, oh, Beatty Towers, we got 4 deliveries going there, or we got this fraternity or this apartment. You knew where the business was coming from just
yeah.
because you were taking the orders. And it was just, I tell my son and the younger generation, they're like, wait, hold on a second. You took the order by hand?
Yeah.
And how did your delivery drivers even know where they were going? I'm like, well, we had a map on the wall, and they'd say, oh, I'm in, I think it's over here. And they'd get in their car and hopefully get there.
Well, I mean, but on the same principle, this is like I think the big point to this is like if you're starting a business, like you don't have to get so technologically advanced. Because I mean that yes, there's a lot of value to that, especially on the scaling side, but that usually happens later. To get into a business, start a business, low budget at $500, you can start very manual and work and find out your market. Because I bet you, whenever you knew if you got 3 or 4 calls and you're writing down, you know that it's going to that hall that you were talking about, right? That certain dorm. And it's kind of like, well, we need to put more flyers out there because we could probably juice that. And they love wings. Like,
Totally
let's,
agree. And I'll tell you,
yeah,
one of our most effective marketing campaigns that we did for years was flyers and door hangers. So we'd go to a particular apartment complex that maybe had 100 apartments, and we'd go hang door hangers on
yeah,
people's doors. And I will tell you, it was like clockwork. I knew that night we were going to get 5 to 7 orders from that apartment complex.
right.
And it was like grassroots marketing, but that's all we could afford.
Yeah.
And I think that was just, I mean, I love the story of Wing Zone and what we did because it was just such a remarkable story from incredible humble beginnings. I mean, the truth is this thing probably had a less than a 1% chance of actually making it. And I think that, listen, through a lot of trials and tribulations, we made it, but it was not an easy path.
Yeah. No, that's right. So fast forward a little bit, you guys end up kind of really scaling out. Tell us about your scale out story. Like how did that start happening? What did you get to?
It's a great question because everyone or a lot of people can open a single business or a
Mm,
single location, but how do you really scale that business? First of all, I want to share with the audience that our business model was incredibly simple, right?
mm.
We sold original bone-in wings, french fries, and cans of Coca-Cola. We didn't even offer Diet Coke or Sprite.
Just straight
So
Coke.
that's it. And we
Love it.
had one of our unique things was we had 7 different sauces, which we eventually called flavors. So, simplicity to me is one of the cornerstones of a business, especially in its infancy. But after we ventured into the fraternity house, we knew that it would not be a long-term play. We weren't gonna open wing zones through fraternity houses all over the country, right?
Mhm.
So, we were there for about a semester. And then I realized that we were going to need to take this leap to actually opening a real storefront, right? So we thought that we had this amazing success story. We had great revenue numbers out of the fraternity house. We were profitable. So we went traditional route. We went and marched into a dozen banks and said, we'd like to apply for a business loan. And here's our business model. And here's some of our financials. And ultimately, they said, well, that's wonderful. Can you fill out a financial statement or an application? And all we could put on there were zeros, right? We didn't have
Mm.
any cash or very little. We didn't have any assets. We didn't probably even have any credit at that time. And so the dream of opening our first real storefront really kind of fell apart. Adam and I were both going into our senior year of college and we were going home for the summer. And I said, Adam, the only way this is going to possibly work is that if we find someone to invest in us, and those people are typically the ones closest to you, the ones that
Yeah.
believe in you. You can say they're friends, but for the most part, it's family. So we both went home for the summer, and I said, Adam, you pitch your parents on lending you 25,000. I'm going to do the same. And so it was not an easy sell, so to speak.
Mm.
My parents, Adam and I both grew up in middle class families. $25,000 in 1993 was a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
And they set three stipulations for us, which I think really made us who we are today. Number one is we had to stay in school. We were a year away from graduating.
Yeah.
We had to graduate. That was stipulation number two, because the reality is this business probably wouldn't make it and we needed to fall back on another career. And the third thing that I thought was really important was this was a loan, not a gift.
Yeah.
This was not something that was like, hey, go do this. And if it doesn't work, don't worry about it. It's like, you're going to pay us back at some point. So with $50,000, we get back to campus that fall, and fortunately, we found an old restaurant that had closed steps away from campus. I mean, it was beat up, but it
Yeah.
had some of the bones to it, right? It had the bathrooms and the air conditioning, and it had a hood exhaust system. And we went in there and kind of made it our own. And we opened in the fall of 1993. And I like to say the rest is history, but when you go from a fraternity house to operating your first real location, it was really an amazing learning experience.
Mm.
We were very fortunate that, the term lightning in a bottle, or, you got to have a little luck in business, but the consumer base really liked what we were doing. We had a great location. People saw the building and the signage. And I know I'm dating myself, but we were doing about $12,000 a week, which is about $50,000 a month in business. And I will tell you that that was more money than we
Yeah.
ever thought we could generate. So the business became a very profitable business. Adam and I worked that business day in and day out. We stayed in school. We paid ourselves $200 a week for the first 2 years we were in business. So think about humble living, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't just take all the profits. But in 1995, we both had graduated, and we went on an aggressive growth voyage where we had opened 6 new locations, one per year in major college markets in the US.
Mm.
And so that was really the proof of going from 1 to 7. We built an amazing relationship with our core banker. And so they would lend us money for the store, and then we moved to the next one, and so on and so forth. I think for the audience, you've got to establish these lending partner relationships. And I talk a lot about that in my book. Without that relationship, we would have not been able to scale. And then 2001 rolls around, and we decide to venture into franchising. A little plug for you, Eric. I know you're about to get started into your own franchise business as a franchisor. I didn't know a lot about franchising. And so I did a lot of research and reading, and I really felt Wing Zone was a phenomenal franchise model. A
Mm-hmm.
couple checklists I look for, like, was the business profitable? Could we teach it to others? Can it work in different markets? And so for me, that was the beginning of the franchising side. I will tell you and the audience that operating 7 restaurants and running a franchise company are two very distinctive models.
Okay.
So I had to learn the franchising business, but we were in franchising for 19 years, and opened over 100 locations in the US and in 6 countries.
Wow.
And I think I learned a lot about franchising. I'm a huge proponent of the model. Last thing I'll just say about franchising is it's not a guarantee of success. It is a probability or likelihood of success. You've got the model, the training, the supply chain, the technology, all the foundational tools instead of just starting your own.
Yeah. Wow, man, that's a,
A
that's
lot to
quite
unpack there, Eric. I
yeah,
know.
no, it is. It is. I wanna go back to that first store real quick and, give a sense about so you and it's Adam, right? Who's
Correct.
your partner. Y'all you have basically 50,000 bucks collectively from your folks. You come back to school after the summer after raising that capital, and you said that you opened up in the fall of that year. So that like what that puts in my brain is you came back to school, you found a location, you negotiated a lease, you moved in, you cleaned up, you polished it up, you got your supplies, materials, all this stuff. And within a couple of months, you were open for business.
Fact.
That's
100%
great.
fact. Yeah, and it's
That's
funny because I laugh sometimes when we leased our first location. I think the landlord said, here's a lease, and and I'm like, I just signed it, right? I didn't
yeah,
even
he
read it. I'm
didn't
like,
read
here you go, just
anything.
give me the keys, and we'll figure it out, right? And it was lipstick on a pig. Like it
Yeah,
was
man.
like it still looked like this old restaurant, but it had a
Yeah.
wing zone sign on the building.
You know, Matt, what I love about this stuff, right, is I've been reading Sam Walton's Made in America book like over and over
Love it.
again for the last 60 days. I bet you I've read it 20 times in the last 60
One of my
days.
favorite books. Another
Yeah.
great book, by the way, is Tom Monahan, who's the founder of Domino's Pizza, wrote a book many years ago called Pizza Tiger. And it's another phenomenal story of, I mean, Domino's has 15,000
It's huge.
locations throughout the world. Like
Yeah,
what an amazing brand, but
it's
it
huge.
reminds me so much of Made in America by Sam Walton.
Yeah, you know what I love about that, and you're we're talking about the dirty details here is like, I mean, Sam Walton running around in the 50s and 60s. I mean, everybody thinks it was perfect, well orchestrated. I had attorneys all the time. I had all this capital. Things were figured out. I'm a merchandising genius, from day one. It's not that like starting a business is grinding. It's getting in, you said lipstick on a pig. It's always lipstick on a pig. This whole paradigm shift that we've had in business in the last decade that I've watched is trying to make a business beautiful before you even kick it off the ground. All the learnings happen in the grind of the business. That's how and it just kind of stacks and stacks and stacks, and it gets better and better, more refined. And what I've had a problem with, Matt, over my course of years of business is that I'll have folks that might join a small business that come from established companies, and their expectation is that we've got things figured out, but they kind of come into a lion's den, and it's like, and there's like such a disconnect. I'm like, no, I mean, like, what do you mean you're worried about our direction of the company? I'm like, we're living the direction of the company. There is no
Yeah,
grandiose.
you got to make payroll.
That's it, man.
You
Yeah, I was
got to pay
actually
your food
talking.
distributor. I,
Yeah.
I think I think analysis paralysis sometimes is accurate too. I think as young entrepreneurs, you strive for perfection, and let me be honest with you, you never get there.
Mhm.
I had built 140 locations, and we never got to perfection, ever. Right? I will tell you that the first 3 stores we opened were, oh my god, what a learning experience. It wasn't until we got to store 4, call it almost 4 or 5 years after we opened the first store, until we really said, "Okay, we have the model. We understand how
Mhm.
to do this and replicate it." And so that was, I talk in my book that will mention, I have an acronym called WINGS to WINS. And I talk a lot, the WINS has an acronym, but the I is what I call innovation through learning. Too many
Mm.
business owners try to innovate
Yeah.
from the beginning without learning a lot about what that innovation takes from your consumer, from the outside world, and some of those things. Like we didn't just rush into online ordering or a loyalty program for our customers, or a multitude of different things in the business. Like it was a gradual play
Yeah.
as you grow the business.
Mhm.
One of my weaknesses, I'll say it as a weakness, maybe some people think it was a skill, is I was an innovator. I was constantly looking at changing the model, tweaking this. And I think as I look back, that was a mistake many times.
Mhm.
I lost focus on what the core business was. I was trying to strive for perfection when I'm like, just do what you do really damn well
Yeah.
and don't worry about some of that outside noise.
Yeah.
So I
That's
think
right.
that's another great learning experience. I think for me, I do love to share this story and with people like yourself and your listeners because man, I can tell you the amount of mistakes that were made in my career were in the hundreds, right?
Yeah.
You have to try to a learn from those mistakes, but really lean on a mentor, a coach, an advisor, someone that's going to kind of push back and say, is that really the best idea for you? Is that really the best decision? Because as entrepreneurs, we think we're like the smartest people in the room and our decisions are always perfect.
Yeah.
I can tell you that they are not.
Yeah. That's an I don't know, my personal experience on that. It's an interesting balance, right? You kind of go back and forth as an entrepreneur because you also have to trust your gut a lot of times. But that's the kind of the thing here. I guess this is a good way to put it, kind of going deep with this. There's a lot of times that I have a gut instinct that I know I need to do something. Then I will reason my way out of it, or I'll talk to other folks and, that aren't really what you just said are advisors or true advisors. They're just people that are in my ecosystem. And then I'll reason my way out of it, or I'll emotionally get my way out of it, right? By fear, or fear of criticism is always usually my bigger blockade than anything. And then I'll talk to advisor and like resets me back to my gut, right? Or something to that effect. And so, um, but that toggling back and forth is an interesting paradigm as an entrepreneur. Like you're always kind of at war with that. Should I, shouldn't I? Should I, shouldn't I? You know?
I think it's an interesting point, and I like this conversation because as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a leader, one of your core responsibilities in leadership is to make decisions.
Hmm.
I think these people that like toggle between do I do it, do I not do it? Like sometimes you just got to take that leap of faith and you're not going to be
Hmm.
right all the time. I think, in general, I feel I'm a good leader. I've made a lot of good decisions. Of course, I've made some bad decisions, but
Sure.
you stick with it. And one thing I always loved about Adam and mine's relationship was we did something incredibly different in our daily roles, right? We were completely different in our skill sets. And I was the idea guy. I was the decision maker and he never beat me up about a bad decision. I think partnerships are really
Hmm.
an interesting conversation for entrepreneurs. I happen to have loved having a partner. He was more of the financial CFO type, legal, technology. I was in operations and sales and marketing, and we kind of, in a way, stayed in our own sandbox. But to me, it was a really great partnership.
Mark and I talk about this a lot. And what you just said is exactly kind of what we see as a strength in a partnership. You're yin and you're yang, right? You have strengths and weaknesses on both sides, but you mentioned something really important that Adam did was he trusted you to make those decisions, and you trusted Adam about his decisions. Like, and you stay in your lanes and respect each other. I mean, to be honest with you, like my previous business, the one that we exited, I had partners that entire time. There's zero way under the sun that we have been anywhere remotely successful had it just been me. Like I know that as a fact. There's been a million decisions. You probably did this with Adam too. Like you actually over time, you want them to make that decision, like you're talking about. Let Adam decide because a it's a tremendous amount of stress relief for you, as a business owner to be able to depend on somebody that you trust and that and you have confidence that they're going to make the best decision that they possibly can, and you don't have to deal with it.
Yes, and I think selecting the right partner is
Yeah,
critical. I think if you have a bad
absolutely.
partnership, then of course it's not going to work well.
Right.
But when you do find the right partner, and I do really recommend that people don't clone themselves and say, I want a partner just like me. You need to find someone that has different skill sets and different passions and brings something different to the table. As a CEO, a leader, an entrepreneur, you are not going to be great at everything.
Right.
Sorry, you got to check your ego. Like, I knew what I was really good at, but I knew what I really wasn't good at.
Right.
And so I really, when I coach and work with some executives and founders and franchisors I work with, I really try to help them kind of establish, what are you passionate about and what are you great at? And then let's
Yeah.
fill in the gaps of what you really need to really build this company.
It's great, Matt. Hey, Matt, I want to make sure we have enough time here to cover your book, right? You wrote a book. What's the title of your book?
I mean, what else could it be, right? From frat house to franchising, the Wing Zone story.
It's
And I think if
beautiful.
people chuckle and they kind of hear the title and say, man, cool title, that's what it was, right? I
Yeah.
mean, we
Yeah.
started in a frat house. We ended up becoming a successful global franchise. And I will say this: I'm really proud of the book. I
Good.
think it's the feedback I've gotten from people is, man, you were really open and honest in that book. Like, it
Yeah.
wasn't just like, oh, it was success and it was like the easiest thing in the world. It's like, man, you were really real about
Mhm.
the voyage in business. Part one is really the story of Wing Zone, right? From the frat house to franchising to going international to the exit in 2021. And the second part are really the stories of what I learned.
Mm.
And I think anyone, whether you're starting a business, I definitely think it's skewed a lot to a younger audience because they can relate to those days when you were in college and had this idea and maybe you don't have a lot of capital. But and then last thing I just want to mention, just as a simple plug, is I'm a big audiobook
Yeah.
uh, listener, and I did the audio version myself, and I think
Oh,
it's just
good.
really genuine in how it comes out. And so I think for a lot of people, they like listening to the story, especially being told from a founder perspective.
100% agree, man. I'm a big listener, right? I mean, I don't know. I feel like I can absorb it, subconsciously even a little bit more. I mean, as I'm doing whatever activities, it's like really convenient. But I always do appreciate when the author is reading the book because you can get the genuine expression. Like you can really feel like there's a better connection there and more authenticity behind the words.
Yeah, and
So
talk
when did
about, interesting, like I spent 14 hours in a recording studio over a course of many days and, recorded it and, it's just it's another cool experience. I guess one thing that I just as I reflect back on my career a little bit is I really had fun doing it. Like it was just a really cool experience and I always liked so many different aspects of the business, the relationships you build with your vendors, your
Yeah.
franchisees, just some of the funny stories that happen through it. And I think that also resonates well in the book about the fun times as well.
Matt, on that part, I don't think we've ever really talked about this, but I have a firm belief, from my perspective, I'm starting up new businesses because genuinely I like to be part of a team. I like to build things with a group of people. And work to me is much more, it's about your life experience with these groups of people. I mean, it's kind of like, I was in a fraternity too back in college, so I can relate, right? But
that group of people when you did things, you did philanthropic events, you hosted parties, you hung out, you were chilling, all that stuff builds these tight relate it's the same thing to me when you start a business or when you're at work. Like there's people that I worked with in my previous company 20 years ago that are just like some of the greatest people I've ever met, and they've impacted my life, and we have stories together. But I mean, is that kind of, I mean, that's what I feel. What do you feel the same kind of way about your experiences?
I do. In fact, I keep in touch with a lot of the people that were core to our company's growth, right? The
Yeah,
17 people that were in my corporate office. I mean, we're having a reunion this summer to kind of get everyone together. And,
it's cool.
listen, they're probably like, Matt wasn't the easiest boss, and I get that. But,
Yeah.
listen, they still respect me. And at the end of the day, I treated them as well as I could. But even
As
the
well as you knew
relationships with
how,
some,
right?
yeah, right. Even the relationship with a lot of key, like, vendors and
Mm,
suppliers and those things, like, those are really I talk about this in the book. There's 3 legs to the stool in kind
mm,
of the business model. You've got your team, right? You've got the
yeah.
consumer, and then you're always gonna have some key vendor partners.
Huh.
And they believed in us, and so they really bent over backwards to help us grow. And
Mm,
some of those relationships, whether it was our food distributor, our point of sale supplier, our sign company, our equipment company, the guys that sold us French fries or fresh wings, like I was all into, like, we are one team and we're going to do this together. And they loved it. Right. And I
mm.
think that was really something that I still to this day feel like those relationships are lifelong relationships.
Man, I really just took that in, Matt. I mean, you gave me something to that I that I'm immediately going to change a little bit my perspective on, as far as like the value that the third leg of the stool on that. I really appreciate that because I haven't really seen it like that. Now I can recall key vendors and partners back before in my business, and they were key. Like looking back, but like existing today, I haven't really thought about making sure that I've invest energy and time as the founder and entrepreneur into those vendors today. Right. I do with my team and I do with my clients 100%, but there's another part of energy that I should really be contributing to that. That's really great. That's a great piece of advice, man.
I
I
appreciate that.
learned something, brother. I learned something.
Hey,
Hey,
you learn
so
something every day. I promise you. I was in business for 27 years. I've been helping other founders, leaders grow their companies for the last 4 years, and I've enjoyed it. And I learned something every single day.
yeah, so speaking of like, so you had do you still like you wrote your book. When did the book get published? When did it get released?
Just March, like a couple months ago. So it's
Oh,
brand new.
fantastic.
I spent a year writing the book. And really, what I'm doing right now is I have my own advisory. I hate to use the word consulting, but I'm a
Yeah.
coach, right? I'm a mentor. And so I
Uh-huh.
love working with founders and emerging companies, primarily in the franchising world, right? But not just restaurants, right? There's home services, there's health and wellness, there's kids enrichment, there's pets. And so I've built a nice little business where I'm doing something that I'm passionate about. I feel like I'm really helping other leaders and founders kind of grow their company or their brand.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a little bit of kind of what I'm doing right now. I always like to reflect back. I didn't have a mentor, a coach
Mhm.
through my career. And I would have been too hard-headed to even listen, but I really believe that every great entrepreneur, founder, leader, executive needs someone to kind of help them make the right decisions or avoid the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
And so that's really what I'm doing right now. It's my opportunity to give back and hopefully see a lot of these companies succeed.
That's excellent. So that's what you're doing now. And not to mention now you're a bona fide author, right? Which is
Which
so
is probably
speaking
not
of
a
your
profitable business venture. It's more
no.
like, hey, I wrote the book and and I want people to read it, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a, it was also written because I think, at some point my grandkids, I have
Yep.
kids that aren't ready to have kids, but hopefully they'll read it and say, "Oh, my grandpa was a cool guy, and
I
he had a
hear
good
you,
story
man.
to tell." But yeah, I
He did
enjoyed it, and I'm
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's cool. Where do you get or is the book available at all the main channels, walmart.com, et
It
cetera?
is Walmart.com, Barnes and Noble. I even went to some independent bookshops. So,
Cool.
and it's available in audio, ebook, Kindle, and that sort of thing. And I think people will enjoy it. And if you read the book and you want to reach out to me and have a conversation about the book or your business, I am an open book, no pun intended. But I want to help people. That's really
Yeah.
my main focus. I'm even going to help you, Eric.
I know, man, and I'm gonna take you up on it. We were talking right before the show. I mean, and I'm as greedy as they come. I mean, I will absolutely take you up on it, man.
You have to.
That's what you're looking for. You're looking for somebody that's kind of shameless and greedy and wants to ask questions, and maybe I'll listen to something,
Yeah,
Might be good.
absolutely.
I
Well,
want
Eric,
to
this has been I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but
well, yeah, but one thing is at the very beginning of the show, you said a key word for me here in Northwest Arkansas, where we're at. You said Sam's Club. You and Adam went to a Sam's Club and you'd buy the ingredients. That's their home base is here, them and Walmart, right? And so just shout out to Sam's Club, samsclub.com for all your small business owners' needs. Just like Matt, if you buy at Sam's Club, you can have a major franchise and have a successful exit as well. I bet Sam's Club loves that promo,
they
of all
do.
I mean, that would be great. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't even spend enough on advertising to get a shout out like that. By the way, they're
Well,
not
listen, it was
advertising.
also just because I was ignorant. I didn't know how this whole business worked. I thought every restaurant went to these warehouse clubs and went down with their
Yeah,
buggy and filled in their carts and everything else. But for me, it was perfect because we could, and it's funny, we would we were crushing it back then. Like we would sell out a product, close up shop. The next day we'd go load up again, sell
yeah,
out,
man.
load up again. So it was a true we were living on the cash on hand type of
I
model.
love Dude, I love it. Writing stuff in paper, taking cash. You probably got hard cash too, right? Because that was a
Oh
little bit
yeah,
before credit card swipes were around. Cash and checks, run to the bank, deposit, go to Sam's Club in the morning, stack up on your one drink of Coca-Cola, you got some frozen fries. That's beautiful, man. I mean, I
simplicity.
love it. I actually, my next exit, I might just get a little bit dirty again as far as like just raw kind of business. It's just there's something fun. Like I clean the windows. It's just me and maybe one other person, right? And just grinding at it and see what happens, man. I
I
love
love
it.
it. Simplicity. So I've
Simplicity.
really enjoyed this, Eric. You're a
Yeah.
great host.
Thank you, man. How do people get a hold of you, Matt? What's the best way?
Yeah, so I have my own website, mattfriedman.com. I'm on LinkedIn. And obviously you can check out my book, but I'm around. I live in the Atlanta, Georgia market, and please, any of the audience, feel free to reach out to me. I'm not one of these people that'll be like, nope, I'm not answering you. So I think that's a little bit of where I am in my life right now.
I hear you, man. I love it. And that's Friedman, Friedman. All right. Well, check him out, folks, on LinkedIn. Get a hold of Matt. Man, it's been a great guest. Congratulations on your success. Congrats on your book. I know that's a big lifetime achievement. Your grandkids, your kids are going to appreciate that for sure, as well as other folks that are looking to drive their business. This has been extremely helpful. Aspiring entrepreneurs, small business owners, again, you don't have to be the best pitch deck raiser and raise $2 billion to get your business going. Just start getting at it. Get some advice and some consult from folks like Matt that have been there and done that. They can help you along the process. This has been another insanely excellent show, an episode of Big Talk about small business with Eric Howerton, no Mark Zweig. Thank you very much for joining us today. Matt, thank you so much, man. It's been a great time.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.